Morning.
Oh, lovely to see you guys.
Morning.
Non-traditional time.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Got my coffee.
Oh, good.
Me too.
Me too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So lovely to see you. I'm glad you guys caught my message. I really should have done a better job of getting the word out, but I didn't. But here we are. Okay. Hi, Christina. How are you doing? Yael, Katherine.
Hi, Tim.
So we're going to do a quick meditation, and then we're going to just talk about, the dark night of the soul experience. And I want to start, however, with this is a really heavy topic. And it's important that we face it from the right viewpoint, that it's an absolutely, it's a thing that happens to us. We are going to go through these situations. I've been through them. You've all been through them. And that it's not anything, it's no reason to judge yourself. It's not a permanent thing. You're not flawed because you're going through these experiences. And it's a real, one of the spiritual tools that I really hope that we all get from this is the ability to go through situations like this as growth. That there's a deep optimism that can come from these painful and difficult situations because we know what's on the other side and who we can become on the other side. So I want to start with that. Does that make sense, you guys? Can you kind of, but this isn't about sitting in our shit and getting all shitty. This is about seeing that this is just an absolutely normal part of the human experience, and to be okay with that. As challenging as it is. All right, so let's do a quick meditation. I'm going to mute everybody. And then we'll start to talk about how we can kind of handle these powerful moments in life. So take a breath, close your eyes, put your hands in your lap, and just physically, emotionally, and mentally let go of all of the connections that you have via your computer, your phone, distractions to the outside world, and bring your attention fully inward. You're bringing your awareness inward. And take a breath, a nice, deep, full breath, and fill your body with air. And allow your awareness to explore the feeling of breath coming into your body. And your intention, the intention that we've set to go deeper, deeper than distractions, into the seat of our soul, or at least as close as we can get. Take another breath. And maybe you see the mind creating thoughts. Maybe you feel distraction. But allow the breath to help your whole body, physical, emotional, and mental, relax around distraction. You have awareness, and you know that the mind can be distracting. You have awareness, and you know that life can be difficult. And awareness, in this instance, is a cue or a call to relax. So as you put your awareness on your breath, notice how when you take a nice deep breath, the spine straightens up, comes up out of the hips, and the shoulders fall back. And you have this posture of strength and openness, And identify with that. Identify with this beautiful aspect of yourself, seeking truth, seeking to know the self, seeking to be a good person. Let the breath escape and let it take another breath in. And really rest into the space of that awareness and your bravery and your seeking. Feel your courage for being willing to look at the darkest aspects of yourself and not be discouraged. That's courage. Feel the sense that you can walk through the difficult aspects of life and not blame yourself. And just have the courage to use it to grow. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have that courage and that desire. It's so beautiful. So beautiful. I want you to really feel a deep and profound respect for yourself because of your desire to grow. All right. Start to come back into the Zoom call. Take a breath. And let's talk about how to face the truly trying moments in life, to how to work through the dark night of the soul, and how to stay sane, how to stay collected, how to keep on the proper side of this, how to stay whole and healthy. So who would like to share? You know, I'm going to share. I'm going to start by sharing this time, if that's okay. So as many of you know, as part of this exercise that I've been on lately, I had to step away from the temple. And that means I'm not part of the core group. And officially, I have a different residence now. I still live at home, but it's, you know, my old 30-year home. But I've been watching myself go through that, and how that there are moments when I feel homeless almost. When I was a younger person, a photojournalist, I did a photo story on the homeless and the hungry a long time ago, like 40 years ago, probably 30 some odd years ago. And as I've been going through this experience, like, I learned a lot of things. I learned how to eat when there's no food. I learned how to find food that had been thrown away that was still perfectly fine and healthy. And I learned how to find shelter. I learned how to kind of scrape together through this homeless photo story, how to scrape together, you know, a survival, right? But the thing that I didn't get, I realize now, is there is this thing inside of my heart that really finds a home at the temple, and it's part of my identity. And this stepping away has really triggered a lot of insecurity about that, like this feeling like this whole, like, support network is now not completely available to me. And I think that's more of my fear than it is reality. Like, I think I know that I could go to anybody and say, hey, I need some help, and they would certainly come through. But I've just been watching this tendency kind of come and go. And at moments, it has been, I want to use the word overwhelming, because I've spent much of my life building up these skills of being present and aware of emotions, and not getting sucked completely into them, right? Like, so that I completely lose the focus of my day. But in moments, I could see in this last few weeks where I totally could have gotten lost in them, and that I had to just kind of relax and give myself space and time, and wait for another energy to come. And it's been really challenging for me to go through that, and beautiful though. I mean, I've learned so much about myself, and in a weird way, I've also learned how strong that my awareness is, that I can really focus and not get lost in difficult times. So that's been my short version of Dark Night of the Soul. But the thing that I also have noticed is that I went through a real dark night of the soul about 12 years ago, and I'm not going to go into all the reasons that was, but all the things that I've heard you guys talk about in some of our different meetings, like Anita, you were talking the other day about just wanting to scream, like just yell. And I went through a thing. I was on a business trip, and I was in this hotel that had an indoor pool, and I was in the middle of going through, and I was just like in this echoey indoor tiled pool area at this crappy motel, and I was just like screaming my lungs out, just because there was so much tension built up inside me and so much sadness. And having gone through that and survived it, that really was a dark night of the soul experience for me. In fact, as part of the meeting that I was on that trip, I got to experience a Catholic priest who was also in this business world that I was in. And I went to talk to him about it, and he's the one who turned me on to St. John of the Cross and the whole teaching that I talk about in this thing. And it really was a dark night of the soul. And so I guess the point that I wanted to make was, having gone through that once and been through it and seen that I can handle it, it's never been nearly as bad. Like that's the thing that I want to like offer you guys, is if you go through this fully and as deeply as you possibly can with a full awareness that it never is as bad. Like, you learn how tough you are, and you learn a lot of skills about how to deal with it, and you learn that it will pass. And it becomes a really valuable part of your spiritual experience, of my spiritual experience. And in fact, when you read St. John, he says it's required that you can't actually become a spiritually realized person until you go through it. So I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I do know that it had great value for me, that once I started to clear it, not even fully cleared it, I started to see that I could handle way more than I thought. And it was a powerful experience. So that's my sharing. I invite you guys to share on your own, or ask questions, or guide me through like what I'm going through. Magical Giselle, would you comment, please?
Oh, good Lord. I'm still processing a lot from yesterday. Was very raw for me, and I'm still going through it.
Yeah.
Something you said, and first of all, thank you, Tim, for sharing. It's actually very good for me to hear when you and Francis share your experiences, because there's almost a tendency for me to sit here and look at you both to say, oh, you're the finished article, you're the polished article, because you've been at the Temple of the Universe for 33 years, you've sat with Mickey, so I kind of, my ego goes, okay, yeah, that's the finished product. And then I judges myself as to where I'm actually at. And then it creates kind of a vast bridge for me. So when you and Francis share that, it's still, you're still going through this, and this is your next bridge, if you like, because you spoke about that identity, and I've been listening to Alan Watts a lot, and really around his teachings around detachment, and I realized that unconsciously we become so attached to things, even as nice as things as being at the Temple of the Universe and sitting there and being in the spiritual, you don't realize how immersive it becomes until, oh, hang on, I'm no longer in it. And then suddenly there's all that, like you said, you felt like a homeless person.
Yeah.
And I guess what I've learned from you sharing there was to consciously be aware of never to leave this home inside. No matter your surroundings, no matter who you are with, no matter where you are with, is always not to be so attached and not to identify with that, because that to me, then that's where that loss and the suffering actually builds, because when that person's gone or the environment changes, suddenly, oh, hang on, what I've attached to then creates a wobble, like a jelly. So I'm sort of slowly learning it, I think. But there's something when the meditation that you took us through was around the seeking, and you talked about the seeking, and I was going along with it, and then suddenly you said, and then seeking to be a good person, and my God, there was like, okay, no, hang on, there's a load of connotations around what a good person is, and then the judgment came in around, because essentially, what is a good person? A good person to you and me is completely different things. So that just activated me like you cannot believe, because I think there's such judgment around that, what's good and what's bad. So that was interesting, because, and then I reframed it so that I could settle down. Is no, what am I seeking? I'm seeking my truth. I'm seeking my authenticity. I'm not seeking your what's version of a good person or anybody else's, because this is what I've spent my life doing, is seeking to match up to everybody else's expectations.
Yeah.
And that's where that's burnt me out.
Yeah.
And so it's being brave and courageous enough to say, I'm actually seeking my own authenticity, to be in my own skin, to be who I am, to be grounded in my soul, and my truth. Because for all these spiritual teachings and even the Bible and whatever, I was not living in those times. And those scriptures have also they have actually been interpreted through human beings who also had their own samskaras, their own suffering, their own prejudices, their own judgments. And so it's taken through that filtering. So in some way, I'm learning to not get so heavily involved. And truly, I know when something lands into my heart that just feels so true. And I think, okay, that's right for me. But it may not be right for you or Francis or anybody else sitting here. So that's what I'm learning to trust, is trust what sounds and feels so true for me, and to be comfortable in the fact that everybody else may disagree. Well, that's okay, because I'm learning to come home to myself and to my soul, to my authenticity, to my truthness, and oh yeah, and that pain of actually letting that go, because I'm attached to so many people and so many things, and what's right and what's wrong and what's good and what's bad. It's like, oh Jesus God, can we just let go of the labels, and can we just be human, in all its authenticity, in all its rawness and realness. So
Beautiful. I love what you share. Like you really nailed it. And that's like, as I was, seeing that I had this attachment, like home and identity to this place, I realized like that will come and go, right? I'll form a new identity and I'll let go of that one. I'll find a new home and then I'll let go of that one. And it's really beautiful what you said. It really has to come from your own heart. And I love what you said too about like the sense of comparison. I was actually writing about that earlier today, that there's no way that like there's no way that we can possibly look to Facebook and create comparisons, or look to anything, and compare ourselves and find peace. There's no peace there. It's just a barrage of people doing amazing things and really beautiful people and really just whatever. And it's just not. And and then when you say, well, am I a good person? do other people think I'm a good person? Well, there's 8 billion people on the planet. Like, not all of them are going to think I'm a good person, you know? It's just, so I want to offer you this, is really driving to a point, which is, can we just say, when we start, when that thing starts to kick up in us, inside us, and we feel doubt, can we just say, I don't really care what other people think. I've always done the best I can do. I'm a good person. Like, that's my default answer now. Like, when I feel doubt in my heart and I feel negativity, I just go right to, you know what? I'm a good person. I trust myself pretty well that I'm a good person. And it wasn't easy at first. Like, I really had to work on that. And I had to borrow from a lot of really, like, the masters. We used to have a woman come to the temple called Ma Yoga Shakti, and she was a female saint from India, really beautiful, tiny, strong, like a real, like, power wench, you know, like, she did things, and she had no attachment to the external world. But she taught this thing where whenever she would think of a negative thing about somebody, she would immediately replace that thought with a positive thought. And kind of like the way you were talking about, like, you see me and Francis a certain way, which is obviously not right. we're all working on ourselves, but to see her use a very simple technique as a high, like, as a real guru and a teacher, it really, like, showed me, like, how people need to work with their minds on such a basic level, right? So I started to do that. Whenever I think about myself, I would just replace that negative thought with a positive one, and recall something that I did for somebody, or some commitment I'd made and I kept, and some work that I'd done for other people, and just to break the chain of negativity that's so easy to fall into. So that's really beautiful. Everywhere you're taking, Giselle, you're using everything you said is helping to advance you. And I really love how you're not getting stuck in negativity. Everything that you talked about is moving you into this next phase where you don't fall into these pits of darkness. You see them and you can kind of navigate around them and step over them and choose a different way of seeing yourself.
Yeah, because I have experienced the dark night of the soul. I didn't know it was that terminology until I did an Eckhart Tolle thing, and it was because it was Jesus. It's like, I mean, it's dark. There's no lightness in there. There's just pure darkness. And I've experienced all of that. And you know, again, it's just another label sort of thing. It's an essence of deep depression.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it feels like. It just feels, you know, when I looked inside myself, I was black from head to toe. There was nothing. I was, you know, I remember feeling like even my soul had left. It's gone. I was just this vacuum. So I know, you know, and this is the attempting of being able to fill myself up, but it's filling myself up with what feels right for me. And I have gone on massive rabbit holes of seeking and learned from very dysregulated teachers, and realizing how that dysregulated me more. And okay, just coming back. So there's that, but I know where that seeking is coming, because I'm still seeking the outside to fill the inside. And so I've got all that, and I see that, and I see what's happening, and trying to control the outside in order to feel okay inside. You know, I've got that, but it's now putting it into the practice. So even then, when you're talking about, oh, the good person, I'm like, no, I'm not taking that in, because again, for me, it's just another label. It's another judgment. What we identify as a good person and a bad person, again, it's just all that conditioning. It comes all down to that conditioning. So I want to be careful. For me, it's like authenticity means more to me. And your heart, you know, so to me, you and Frank are authentic. And so a lot of us, so my nervous system, it calms down when it tunes into that authenticity that I'm connecting with. But then it's labeled as a good person. I'm like, well, what does that actually look like? Hang on a minute. It's too much judgment comes in. So that authenticity comes in of, you know, so I'm myself, and bringing myself here, and I'm being as open and vulnerable and raw as I possibly can, because that's my authenticity. That's actually who I am. In fact, just before we came on this call, I was thinking, I actually sometimes hold back on the depth of where I can go, because I know that the deepness can scare people, And
Right.
when I've had those deep conversations, they've run a mile, because like, no, we don't talk about feelings and emotions and being open and being honest and admitting. It frightens people. So I know that I've held it back. So now I can bring it here, and hopefully it helps others. But essentially, it allows me to regulate and say, this is actually okay, because this is who I am,
Mm.
is that deep depths of who we are.
No, I love everything you said. Like the way that you spoke about authenticity as a way to regulate, your nervous system is really beautiful. It's a really deep point to make, and that I just want to acknowledge that helped me to hear that. And I think maybe a better way to put what I had to go through, like to just sort of change, like I had an assumption that I was a problematic person, and I had to at least balance it, right? So I think maybe what helped me was just to give myself the benefit of the doubt more. I think that and sometimes it's really important just to see the possibility of something, to believe in it, and that helps it to flower. So
Thank you, and I appreciate it. I'm glad you mentioned Facebook, because to me, I call it faceless Facebook, because nobody goes onto Facebook and says what a shit day they're having every single day. No, nobody does that. So it's the most inauthentic place you could ever engage with. However, it has its beautiful uses, but I'm talking about the general
yeah,
ego kind of driven stuff. Yeah.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you for allowing me to share. I appreciate it.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. Anybody care to raise your hand? May I call on somebody? Anita, I would like to hear from you, because I think you've got things to say about this. I know you do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Giselle. It's been about 5 years since, I guess, the worst. It's been 5 years since the worst 2 years of my life started. Within a year, I'd lost 5 people I was close to. One of them being my husband and my mother and my sister, within a year. And I remember right after my sister died, I didn't think it then, but I see it now, where me and reality took a break. I was still doing everything I had to do, but when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know who that was. I don't know who that was. That was doing the things that apparently I was doing, but I would never have done those things in a million years if me and reality hadn't taken a break. So after my sister died, and this was like the culmination of how dark can your life get. After my sister died, I went through a period of just trying to be okay, thinking that, well, I needed to replace my husband with someone else. So I got on these dating sites and thought I met someone, and I was preyed upon and taken advantage of. Um, and it was devastating. But I finally realized what had happened. And I mean, at the time, I was living in an alternate reality. And that's hard. It's hard to explain. And it's probably hard for people to understand. But that's just the only way that I can explain it. That I was really living in an alternate reality. But I thought something was true that was not true, which made me very vulnerable and an easy prey. But I got through that. I didn't lose my house over it, and it was all a blessing. The blessing of the whole situation is that now I'm here. And I realized at some point that if I cannot be whole inside, I'm always going to be looking for something else, which was what I was doing then. So where I started to go after getting into this work is, I remember hearing Mickey say, that you need to be whole and complete within yourself. And I've never been that. So I know I can, and I've come to the realization, and when my son gets feeling down, I'll remind him, Steve, this isn't the worst day you've ever been. You'll be okay. You'll get through this too, because it's not the worst day you've ever been. So I know, going forward that, things are going to happen. I'll get through it. Okay. Sorry.
No.
Man, that just.
Is there a
I'll
sense?
be whole and complete within myself. That's what I want to be, and that's what I'm working towards.
Yeah. How? So obviously, during that 2-year period, you're that sort of energy system, just the bottom, I'm sure, just dropped out, right? Is it easier to kind of go through difficult times now and get the energy back now? Or what's your experience of that now?
Yes. Yes, it is. Once at some point, I kind of started to touch base with reality again, and I realized what had happened, that I was preyed upon and scammed. And once I realized what had happened, then I guess I was at a new starting point. Okay, so this is what happened. Wow, can't believe that, um, but yes, I think especially with the work that we're doing and with this in-depth work that we're doing, I see that, and the practices I'm doing with the meditation and the check-ins during the day, and the realizing, okay, I got into my mind, that I've been following my mind all of this time, and it wasn't a good leader. So, and realizing that, okay, that's just my mind. And breathing and all of those things, doing all of the practices that I've learned, yes, it is easier to let go of that energy and to start to feel a little balanced.
That's been my experience too, that when I have been through like the things that were devastating, years ago, like I couldn't even see that there was ever going to be like a return of energy. Like I couldn't like if I was to ask myself, is this how it's always going to be? I would have said yes, that this is how it's always going to be. But of course that's not true. And I think that's the, you know, the beauty of these situations is that, you know, as we do this work, we watch how our energy moves. We, you know, we call it our heart opening, or we call it in a way even just our way of being kind of stimulated just for the average normal activities of life, even just like folding the laundry or washing the dishes. Like, and at some points, those tasks can just seem overwhelming when you're going through a really difficult phase. And I kind of like, that's my marker now. Like if when I'm going through something difficult, can I at least get the energy to like do some basic, you know, basic stuff? And I'm seeing that coming back like much quicker. How are you doing right now? Like as you are difficult things happening now, or is this like your old stuff coming up, would you say?
It's my old stuff coming up.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the old stuff that I have, you know, pushed down through my life. And then, you know, after all of this, I tried to put a smile on everything. You know, I just, okay, that's over. Let's forget about it. Let's move on. Forget about all that. And I tried to put a smile on everything.
Right.
And so now, yeah, it's the old stuff coming up. It's, you know, the things that occur now, I'm doing okay with.
Good.
Yeah, yeah, because I can see, you know, I can see why I'm trying to get a desired outcome, you know. So you know, I can see all that stuff, but this old deep stuff, yeah, that it's coming up, and
I mean,
it's hurting coming back up.
yeah, it went down with pain, it's coming up with pain. I mean, that's the thing. Like, you know, Giselle, you didn't talk specifically about what happened to you, you know, but and Anita, you talked about some of the things, but you can see like why we suppress stuff. Like that's overwhelming. That's just too much shit to deal with at once. So you got to put it somewhere, and it just doesn't like that's a real skill to sort of see it coming and then be able to not suppress it. But that's just a lot, right? And it's really beautiful to watch you go through that. I'm really happy to hear that at least it's old stuff coming up. I there's a sense of positivity around that, at least around it still hurts and there's pain, but there's you're on the mend. That's what it feels like to heal, right? Can you feel that, Giselle? Like, can you feel the healing taking place amidst all this?
Yeah, because I completely know what a victim mindset. I was deep into that. So when you've done a beautiful thing around complaining, I think we did that. I don't know. All these days with you and Francis seem to merge into one. It's like who, you know, who said what, and I'm on this 12 steps, and I'm on the 8-week precedent, and then in between everything else. But it's, yeah, you did a really thing about complaining, and I could so identify with that. You know, I spent days, months complain, because that's where I was at. That's where my comfort zone was at that particular time, until eventually I completely got so sick and tired of hearing myself, bored out of hell, and I just couldn't see the sense of it. I was creating my suffering. My mother, because the most person I was complaining about was my mother. Anybody that would listen, I would blame, and oh, it was all of, you know, projecting, until whatever step that I stepped into and I took that full risk. The biggest thing is when you go from that and you take full responsibility, and that step, I think there's an underestimation of how big that is, because then that's when the work takes. That's when it's, oh my God. And so it's admitting and admitting and admitting, because then the unlayering comes. While still held in victim state, that's where the ego is. It's driven, it's rooted in that. And then it's still projecting out to you, I'm not, that's not me, that's not me, that's them. That's all of them. That's blaming everything else. And it's to that wall. And so, and I'm just so grateful for this, because now I didn't realize that that wall that I've dropped, and stepped over it into, okay, now I'm taking responsibility, and now I'm actually owning every behavior, every choice, everything I did. It's got nothing to do with my mother. Yes, I was given a foundation which wasn't very pleasant, but now I have the choice as I educate myself every single day. And that's why I'm immersing myself in this education, so that I can make better choices. I can be a much more authentic. I'm coming home to myself each and every day. Small steps, big steps, I don't know, whatever's going to be shown to me, whatever's going to arise, and admitting and admitting and admitting. And to me, there's no right or wrong way of doing this, because everybody's path is so personal.
Yeah.
You know, your experiences, there may have similarities, but my mother's tone would not activate you, whereas my mother's tone activates me because of my experiences. And so I have to keep on coming back to myself and reminding, it's what's true for me, it's what's authentic for me, you know, and appreciate. And I'm still way, but I've taken that big step of, right, I'm responsible now. You know, that's being the adult. That's the maturity. That's some growth there.
It's pretty fucking
Even
impressive.
that step
Giselle.
is just huge. Pardon?
That's pretty fucking impressive. I mean, it's like very brave to do that, because you know, like people throw these phrases around, like reclaiming your power, but that's literally the definition of what happens when you say, okay, I choose to let my awareness, my consciousness be what guide me, instead of looking for other people to bring me happiness. That's so beautiful. Have I got that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big step, and I think sometimes I judge myself and I think, oh no, I'm not quite there yet. I've got to flip back into the victim state, because it's quite easy to go there depending on what comes up. And you know, I so identified with what Anita's just shared now, because I even wrote there when you were thinking there, I thought that power of reality, you know, what we construct as the reality within, and that belief in that reality, and you see that and that illusion, it feels so immersively real. And then when that is completely crashed in front of you, oh my God, that's like a dark night of the soul, because everything, especially if you put yourself into, you believe in this person, you've given them all your love, you've opened up, you've, you know, just literally self-abandoned, self-rejected, immersed, whatever. And then suddenly that person changes, they do something, and that foundation is just, because it wasn't a real foundation. The mind believed in it so immersively, but essentially it wasn't from that heart. It was a transactional, conditional exchange. It was a self-abandonment, self-rejection, lack of self-worth, lack of self-value, because it was seeking that love that potentially somebody else cannot give you. And essentially, I'm the only one that can give myself the love that I'm seeking.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. Gosh, wow. Well, your clarity is very compelling. It's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody want to raise your hand? Katherine, may I call on you? I know you're going through stuff too, and I'd love to hear how you're doing, if I may. As
Thank you.
always, everybody can pass the baton if they want to, pass the microphone if you want to.
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah. If I'm not in this second part of the night of the spirit, if I'm not in the night of the spirit or a dark night of the soul at the moment, I give up, because it can't feel much worse. That's, you know, at times, not today, but yes, you know. So I was quite fascinated, Tim, by this thing about the night of sense, because when it said that you start losing pleasure in worldly things, you know, like that's exactly where I've been for the last few years. And I thought it was just depression or freeze state of the nervous system, you know. So I thought I'm just in a depression. So reading that was helpful because it puts it as a positive rather than a negative. You know, it can, if I can try to have some trust that that's all gone, I've changed so much. So that feels great because that means I'm on to another step, you know, so that was really helpful. At the moment, I'm being really brave and I'm making lots of changes and it's excruciating, but it's just as everyone's been describing, that it's that stage that sometimes Francis talks about. You get to that stage, just no more. I can't do it anymore. I'm not doing it anymore. And I'm starting to see things around me so differently, but it leaves me standing on my own. That's how it feels. I'm not completely on my own, but I've got a real vivid picture of Mickey's house at the moment. I think I mentioned yesterday that where he's built it, and, you know, until in the end, you're right in the middle. And at the moment, it feels like the walls are falling down around me. And it's leaving me very vulnerable because I'm not used to being that self, you know, the self. But yeah, so that's where I am really. I'm just making changes in the way I'm allowing people to treat me. I hadn't even realised. So that awareness, first of all, that subtly I have been abandoning myself. I don't have much self-worth in some ways because I don't often see the point if I'm not doing it for someone. You know, I live on my own here. I could do lovely things for myself all the time, but it seems almost not the point, you know, and that's not true. It's not true. So the wall's coming down. That's where I am. And a couple of people I really felt would have been in my support team, their wounds, I guess. So my daughter and my friend, their wounds are greater, so they haven't got what I need. I'm not blaming them, but I'm realizing that I need to pull back because I keep going to them for emotional support or to be part of my walls, and they can't do that. And so I keep getting hurt. And so yes, lots of deep pain. And the one other thing I'd like to add is that what's really helping me, again, I listen to there's someone I follow and I really appreciate his stuff, and I listened to a podcast today and he puts amazing stuff up, but on the podcast he described where he was some years back, and I think, oh, it is possible for us to move, to heal, like you've said, you know, where you've got to. I think I need to hear, because a lot of us are very vulnerable, but to hear people who have come from something that's so profoundly painful and deep, that there is that way, and that's helping me as well. So that's where I am. Thank you.
It's beautiful. Couple of things. I can remember years ago, sitting in a circle of people at the temple talking about like what we were going through that week. It's the Saturday night meeting, and I had talked about how like just the things that weren't like you talked about, like the death of the senses, right? Like the things that had always sort of I'd found juice in and joy and like just a little like a bump of shakti, you could call it, right? Just had started to go away. And I had shared that, and Mickey said that he had heard that called, or another teacher call that, the world has lost its salt. And I thought that's really, it's like you think about salt as a spice or a flavor, like, and it's just how it brings like the food to life, and that life just seemed to lose that spark, you know. And like you really framed it beautifully, because in essence, like there was a dependence on it. And like all of your sharings are so beautiful, Giselle and Anita, like you're pointing out how like there was this falseness that had to be destroyed. Dependence on other people, like giving yourself away, a false impression of who you are and what you need. And that shit doesn't die easily. Like those, that's a form of ego, a misunderstanding of self. And it just takes like a massive like movement to break that up and have it kind of go away. And it hurts. It really hurts. But then afterwards, it's cleansing. So I think that's the feeling that I got from what you were saying. Like that was the beginning of that, right? It's like the world isn't there. The world isn't going to be the steady supply of like happiness that I thought it was going to be. And these other people aren't going to be the source of my joy throughout my life. And I just, you know, we tend to idealize like having kids and having family, and like it's all going to be great when we have kids and family, and it's not really true. So it's beautiful to go through that, because then we can be really loving and supportive to ourselves and them. Once we kind of once we own ourselves, Giselle was saying, like we take ownership. That's really powerful, Giselle, what you said. That really landed with me. All right. So quickly, I just want to ask a question. I'm going to call on Yael next. We've got a few more minutes, and then Francis has a hard start at the next hour, so in here in a few minutes. But the thing is, I would really like to share this whole talk, this whole video with people. And you guys have shared some intimate stuff, so if it's not okay, it's not okay, and I can kind of anonymize it or do whatever. But you guys have been so oppressive in what you've said, and the clarity and your experience and your authenticity. I would love to put this out, but I just want to make sure, is everybody okay with that? I want to hear, Giselle, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm fine, because I've come to realize that, you know, like I've learned from you and Francis and everybody else, when they share their journey, it lands for me and I learn. And so if anything that I say helps one person, then
beautiful,
that lands, that I, you know, whatever, it just, yeah, because we're here for the same. If you're on this path, you're on this path.
So listen, you know, that's noble, but I don't like that you shared some really intimate stuff. So I want to just check with you.
I've forgotten what I've shared anyway, because
Anita,
I was so,
are you okay with that? Yeah. Okay. And Katherine?
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm just trying to think. I didn't think I mentioned anything by name or so yeah, it's fine.
So we're gonna have to end. So yeah, I just want to give you a couple minutes just to share, because I know you also are going through stuff, but then I need to turn the room back over to Francis. So just.
It's all good, Tim. I'm
yeah,
here.
There he is.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm here. I'll just let Judith know. I'll let her know to hang on. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Yael. And I'm sorry to put these conditions around you, but you're a strong woman. You can handle this. I know. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm a strong woman. We're all strong people.
Yeah, you are. You are.
We are all strong people. I said it yesterday. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. As I remember, it's and in a masochistic way, I'm enjoying it. This hard thing. I thought as I age, I'm going to make it easy on myself, and I'm not. So, but what I'm hearing from everybody, and what I'm hearing is this is for me really for the first time. Everything is now for the first time since the last 2-3 weeks. Maybe it has to do with the beginning of the Jewish year. I don't know. Energetically, eclipse. I really allow the shit to come up, and I don't suppress it. And I'm looking up. You didn't suppress it. You allowed it to come up. And it's old, ancient stuff that is coming up. It's relationship with my mother, who's 6 years not with us. It's relationship with my dad, who's 23 years not with us. It's relationship with my brother, with whom I had a wonderful relationship, and it poofed once my mom passed away. The victimhood that I carried, the poor me, which is victimhood, the persecution, me being a persecutor of others that victimized me. The examples will have to be here for probably another 6 years, but I just notice, and I'm like, what? I allow it to come up and I sit with it, and using the techniques of Mickey's last podcast is a must. The eliminating ego to eternity. I forgot, I think it's podcast number 120 or not sure. I've listened to it 3 times and I don't remember the title, but I just don't remember. Wow. Yeah, the ego, how much my ego running me. This is not in the past. I'm still here. That allowance of bad thing, of some scars to come up, noticing the patterns that we talked about yesterday in the 12 steps, and just go, oh yeah. And it takes time. It's not like out, but it's faster. It's faster. And these are the techniques: the breathing, the awareness, the consciousness awareness, the observer, whatever words. And it was hard going in. It's really hard coming out, really hard. So thank you for all the vulnerable shares. It's all resonance with me because I live in every one of you somehow. And yes, Facebook and all that, it's all FOMO. It's better than, oh my God, and I did so and so, and at this time in my life I should have been here, I should have been there, and that. Attachment. That's what comes up for me, is comparison, attachment, which then remains some scar for me, is not good enough. Thank you. Tim, I can't hear you, but you're not muted. Can anybody hear Tim?
Yale, I wonder if they've gone. I can hear you, but
I can hear you, but I can't hear.
I can't hear Tim either.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now, yes.
now
Somehow my microphone just slipped out. Anyway, I just quickly want to say how much I deeply respect and admire everything you guys have shared. You've been so vulnerable, and the sense of optimism that you guys have come up with after all this is just incredible. Like that's the power of spiritual growth, that you are going through the dark night of the soul, but seeing what's on the other side. So I'm so impressed. That's powerful, and I adore every bit of this that you guys have talked about. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to share this. I'm positive that other people are going to find this as motivating and encouraging. Thank you, guys. Your stories are amazing. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Tim. Thanks for running it.
Thank you,
Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everybody.